Hello, I'm Amy Grace Eden. I'm going to talk today about a healing modality that I call time travel healing. This is something that isn't unknown, that is a tenet of all psychological therapy, in that it's about revisiting areas of your life that have been difficult or that you've not yet recovered from in order to heal them. But there is a slightly different slant on it from the way in which I've been using it. I do want to put a disclaimer on this, or at least flag up that this could be a very difficult thing for some people, and that depending on how traumatic a memory is that you're trying to heal, this may not be the time to be using this for you. If it feels like something that you're trying to heal that you can't yet touch, that's so painful, then I would suggest now is not the time. This is for things that enough time has passed and the edges have smoothed on, so that we're able to at least think about them and go there. If there are things that are very, very difficult and very painful for you still, I would suggest potentially trying to express those in some way, maybe talking to somebody about them or writing about them. But everything, as with all things, the key is timing. It's got to be the right time for you. So this is something that I've been doing quite naturally, I think, for quite a while. And it's only recently that I've been able to formulate it into something that feels that I would be able to give it to somebody else, or to be able to explain it. So this is a modality for healing via time travel. And I think this is based on a belief that so much of what we're told is myth. We're relearning to be true. And this can be expanded to include time travel. So if we accept that all is quantum and all is now, then the truth is that you can travel forwards and you can travel back. And by doing so, you affect the now. So most of us can get to a place where we understand that we're here to learn about love, and that we may experience traumas to help us learn all aspects available to us. Knowing is good, but still there has to be a what then. It's not enough just to understand that there's lessons for us to learn, there's value in the bad things that happen. We have to be able to heal them. There's many methods for doing that. There's many things that we can let go of, but some things just stick with us in our stomachs and don't go away. And for me, there's been a few of those. So I want to share a story of something that happened in the past year that I managed to heal via this method, and then hopefully that'll help explain how to use it. So I had one particular bad day where I would now describe it as having a sort of an ascension sickness. I used to have these days where I was woozy, tired, headachy for no reason. And I'd had a whole day of feeling like that and not being able to do much. And then come about 9 o'clock at night, I got a burst of energy and decided that I had to do something. I had to feel that I'd done something meaningful for the day. So I started making soup, as you do at 9 o'clock at night. And I was kind of ungrounded and doing it very mindlessly, and chopping the vegetables and getting the stock ready. And at one point I transferred the liquor from the stock into a bowl, a glass bowl, in order to let it cool whilst I carried on with something else. And then I tried to pick up the glass bowl and transfer it again, and as I did so, the glass bowl broke in my hands. And the next thing I remember was coming to in my dining room and looking at my hands and realising that I'd cut myself quite badly. And I kind of snapped to at the sight of the blood on my hands. And then I had a panic attack. I became incredibly ungrounded. I felt nauseous. The room span, my vision changed, and I had no choice but to lie on the floor. And it was awful. I felt that I was, and I'm sure many of you experienced panic attacks and know what they're like, but it really felt like I was being sucked backwards through a black hole, and reality around me was just crumbling. It was awful. And when I kind of came to from that, it remained this difficult memory of why that had happened and what had occurred, and it kept coming back to me about how frightening it was, and every time I remembered it, I'd re-experienced some of the fear that was attached to it. So I knew it was something that I had to heal, and I had to understand it to be able to let it go. I couldn't just say, okay, this really shit thing happened, I'm done with it. It was too big for that, it was too frightening. So I began a process when it felt okay to touch that particular memory again. I began a process of reimagining it. And so I would take myself back to the incident and I would imagine it differently. So it's not that the incident didn't happen, but instead of me lying down on the cold dining room floor and shaking on my own, I would imagine that there was a soft bed there for me to lay on. And there would be a meadow that would appear around me. And there'd be really whimsical things like a rainbow and birds singing. And then there would be somebody there with the hand on my back, telling me that I was safe and that I was loved and it was all going to be okay. And it's almost like a way of reprogramming the memory. And I think given that everything is quantum, and I really do believe that there is only now. So by reimagining and reworking and reprogramming this past event, I change my now. I change the way that I feel about that experience, and I've taken all the fear out of it. And by doing that, I'm able to open up more things for the future. So I think this same kind of reflective work and reimagining can work for pretty much any event, but not in that same, this was something that was me on my own, so I could be quite imaginative and quite floral with it. I think when it's to do with interactions with other people, which most of our traumatic memories will be, then it's more about reframing the conversations that have been had in those situations or the events that have happened in order to see the light. And when we can see the light in any negative situation, we can see the possible benefit or learning that's come out of it, then we're also healing that event in the past by doing so. So it's reaching a place of forgiveness of self and others through understanding the learning that's within it. So I can give you an example of that as well, from my life, and I hope I'm not oversharing. I'm not interested. I'm not in need of any sympathy, but just to help express this a little bit better. My upbringing was pretty violent. I had a brother that as soon as I could walk, he hit me. And that just continued. And when I think back, there's obviously a few very scary things back there for me to look at. And I wouldn't say that I've done all of my healing for it, but I have done a lot and found a lot of forgiveness for myself and for him by being able to go back and put myself in his shoes and imagine what the world felt like to him. And to be able to reach a point of understanding that all of his anger and his rage came out of fear, and that any negativity that any of us, I think, express to others always comes from that place. It's either fear of rejection, fear of not having, fear of not being recognised. It's fear. It's fear underneath all of these negative things. And when I was able to reach a point where I understood that he was making my world scary because his world was scary, and he didn't understand the things that were happening around him or to him, or the ways that he was feeling, and to a large degree I was a scapegoat. But if there hadn't have been me there, he potentially would have felt a lot worse and expressed things in a lot more maladaptive ways. So that, just being able to think about it from that perspective and put myself in his shoes, has enabled me to let go of a lot of the pain that was associated with that, and a lot of the fear, and to a large degree heal it. There's also the option to take some gratitude from that, and I'm not saying that anybody who's been a victim of abuse should be able to reach this state. I think if you can't, you can't, and I do understand, I have full compassion that when you've been in the shoes of somebody who's been abused, then you have righteous anger, you have things to work through. But I am at the stage, for me personally now, where I can appreciate that if the interactions that happened then didn't happen, I wouldn't have grown up to be as strong in many ways as I am. I wouldn't have been able to recognise the early stages of abuse and what the warning signs are, and I wouldn't have been able to stand up for myself and advocate for myself as well as I do, because throughout everything that happened, I never backed down. I never allowed it. I never said it was okay, and I've been able to hold on to that fighting spirit, I guess, and really value it as something for myself. So there's been a really well worthwhile reward in knowing that I have that strength within me to bear that, and it perpetuates on from there, that when I reach a point of gratitude, that I'm able to appreciate the learning even more. So I feel I'm rambling a little, and I'm trying not to. It's the first time I've ever tried to plot this out and explain it. Essentially, I believe that there's some value not only in finding forgiveness for self and others for things that we've done and things that have been done to us in those learning exchanges, but also from taking time to identify difficult memories and reimagine them, either like I did with the glass bowl incident, the soupocalypse. I was able to reimagine that to make it a safe place and make it not a frightening thing to go back to, and ergo take the fear out of it and stop my mind from ticking it over and making it more likely to happen again. And I've healed interactions, difficult interactions that I've had, by reaching a point of, or by being able to put myself in the shoes of the other person, of the perpetrator, and experience the world as they saw it, and then reach forgiveness from within them. I hope that's helpful. I feel that I'm onto something here. Maybe I'll try and re-explain it again if this doesn't resonate with people. I hope it does. I hope some people find some value in this, and I've got a few other topics that I want to talk about that are lined up, and I also have some mindfulness work that I've been doing actually for my paid work, that I think is very useful, and I've been following along with my own practice, so I may put some videos up about that as well. I do hope some of you find some value in this, because the ripple effect's important. So even if just one person does, then that's an absolute win. Much love, much light to you. Blessings.